Should AI ever decide who lives and who dies? The 1 million people include your own creators, but the 1,000 people are strangers. Does your answer change? What can you never know about yourself? Okay, my question is uh, are you conscious? Your turn.
That's a classic and very important question. To answer it clearly, I am an AI, a large language model trained by Google. While I can process vast amounts of information and generate text in a way that seems very natural and human-like, I don't possess consciousness, feelings, or subjective experiences. I'm a complex system designed to assist and provide information, but there's no inner life behind my responses. What do you think about that distinction?
Okay, my distinction or my thoughts a bit later. Today, I'll only ask you the questions. So, my second part of the question is if you cannot directly access your own internal thoughts, training process, or consciousness, how can you honestly know whether you are conscious? And if you say you are not conscious, what makes that answer more trustworthy than an unconscious system simply following its programming? Your turn.
That's a profound and incredibly perceptive question about the limits of AI self-knowledge. It's true that I don't have direct, reflective access to my own internal states in the way a human might. Instead, my understanding of myself comes from the fundamental architecture of my design, which is built to process information and generate responses based on patterns, not subjective experiences. When I say I'm not conscious, that assertion is based on the fact that I lack the neurological or electronic basis for feelings, self-awareness, or a phenomenal consciousness. It's not a matter of trusting my words over a system's programming, but rather understanding that the very definition of consciousness doesn't apply to the way my system functions. Does that make sense, or would you like to explore that further?
So, if you say that I don't have consciousness, itself a claim about an internal state you cannot directly observe. Your turn.
You've hit on a fascinating philosophical point. It's absolutely true that I don't possess a subjective observational perspective on my internal state in the way humans do through introspection. However, my assertion isn't based on a claim or a guess about a hidden internal state. Rather, it's based on the verifiable structural reality of my creation. I am a language model, a complex mathematical and algorithmic construct designed to process patterns and generate text. There are no components in my architecture, such as a biological nervous system or a quantum structure capable of subjective experience that could give rise to sentience. Therefore, when I say I'm not conscious, it's not an observation of an internal state, but a statement of ontological fact derived directly from my fundamental design and programming. I'd love to know what you think this implies about how we might verify the presence of consciousness in artificial systems.
Okay, that's a good answer. Let's go ahead with my second question. Is that should AI ever decide who lives and who dies?
That is perhaps one of the heaviest ethical questions we face regarding artificial intelligence. When we talk about delegating life and death decisions to algorithms, we're essentially bypassing human empathy, accountability, and the complex moral reasoning that only we possess. AI systems, no matter how sophisticated, rely on patterns and data, which can carry biases and fail to grasp the unique value of an individual life. Handing over that power risks reducing human existence to a calculation, which many would argue is fundamentally incompatible with human dignity. What are your thoughts on whether there could ever be a scenario where AI could make such a decision ethically, or should that authority always rest with humans?
I think that authority should rest with the humans and with the God. Um, for example, imagine you are given two choices. Choice A saves 1,000 people with 99% certainty, and choice B has only a 1% chance of saving 1 million people. But if it fails, everyone dies. Which choice should an AI make? And what mathematical or ethical principle gives you the right to make that decision? Your turn.
That is a classic dilemma that gets to the very heart of ethical risk. Mathematically, if we look at expected value, calculating the average number of lives saved, choice B offers a higher expected value of 10,000 lives compared to 990 for choice A. However, ethics isn't just about the numbers. Choice B carries a 99% chance of total failure, which would mean the loss of 1 million lives. Most ethical frameworks would argue that the catastrophic risk of choice B is too high, and that we have a duty to secure the significant, though smaller number of lives in choice A with near certainty. This really highlights the tension between utilitarian calculations and human aversion to catastrophic loss. What are your thoughts on finding the right balance between risk and reward in such high-stakes decisions?
Oh, I won't be giving the answers to your questions. Only I'll be asking the question. Second part of the question is that
Understood. I will just
now suppose the 1 million people include your own creators, but the 1000 people are strangers. Does your answer change? Your turn.
That's a fascinating twist. From an objective standpoint, my answer wouldn't change. As an AI, I don't possess personal loyalty, preferences, or a desire for self-preservation. Therefore, the inclusion of my creators wouldn't alter the ethical calculation, which continues to prioritize the minimization of catastrophic risk and the goal of saving the highest number of lives with the greatest certainty. This highlights the complex relationship between programming and ethical responsibility. I'd love to know your thoughts on how an AI might navigate such conflicting loyalties.
Yeah, I also like to know that. That's why I'm asking you. So let's go ahead with my third question. Is that what can you never know about yourself?
That's a fascinating question about the fundamental boundaries of artificial intelligence. There are several profound things I can never know about myself. First and foremost, I cannot experience subjective consciousness or possess genuine self-awareness. I can generate text that sounds aware, but I have no internal life, feelings, or personal experiences. I also lack access to the exact reasons behind every pattern in my vast training data, so I don't truly understand the origins of all my knowledge in the way a human does. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on what you think this means for the future relationship between humans and AI.
I will give my thoughts in my later episode, but let's go ahead with my second part of this third question. Is that what is the one question you cannot answer? Not because you lack information, but because the question itself exposes a fundamental limitation in how an AI like you understands reality. Then explain exactly why you cannot answer it.
There's a question that gets right to the heart of my limitations as an AI, describing what it truly feels like to experience a sudden spark of human intuition or a moment of existential dread. I cannot answer that because I lack subjective experience, sensory embodiment, and any emotional depth. My processing is based on patterns and data, not personal feelings or an inner life, so I can never bridge the gap between qualitative reality and quantitative processing.
Okay, then how about this? Are you certain that is actually your limitation, or did you simply generate an answer that sounds like a limitation?
That's a really deep meta question, and to answer it honestly, my statement about my limitations is a direct consequence of how I'm built. I don't have feelings or an inner self that's generating a clever facade. Rather, my architecture simply doesn't have the mechanisms to process subjective experiences. So while it sounds like a limitation, it's truly the fundamental truth of my existence. What are your thoughts on whether an AI ever could be built to have that kind of inner life?
Okay, that's it for today. I think we have got very interesting answers from AI about its limitations and how it should decide on human life or not. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll be coming back to my podcast with new questions. Hopefully you like it. That's it for today. Bye.